Hi, I'm Ray, and this is TinyTableGames. Thanks for clicking on the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope you've been enjoying all the playthroughs I've been doing as I continue to work through my game shelf of all the games I haven't played, but did buy over the years, and also working on painting every miniature I own, whether it be for board games or just random miscellaneous miniatures I've picked up from various Kickstarters or Games Workshop or whatever. Anyway, in today's video, doing something a little bit different because every so often I go off on strange tangents, and that's just me. And today's tangent is lizard people, or lizard men if you're more of a classic person, and their evolution in time in games, and why I think lizard men / lizard people are in fact pretty cool. My first exposure to them back in the day was in this. And for anybody of a similar vintage, you would find that in the basic rule book, it says Lizard Man. Armor class 5. Hit dice 2+1, move 60, 20, in water 120 feet. 2 to 8 appearing, save as a fighter, level 2. And have a morale of 12 with a neutral alignment. These water-dwelling creatures look like men with lizard heads and tails. They live in tribes. They will try to capture humans and demi-humans and take the victims back to the tribal lair as the main course of a feast. Lizard men are semi-intelligent and use weapons such as spears and large clubs, gaining a bonus of +1 to damage rolls due to their great strength. Lizard men are often found in swamps, rivers, and along seacoasts, as well as in dungeons. That was about the first reference I could find to lizard men outside of film and literature. In particular, but as far as gaming goes, like the Sinbad movies and Clash of the Titans, all the Ray Harryhausen stuff, you could argue there were lizard men in there. And you could also argue that before that there was Stan Lee's Marvel invention of the lizard and whatnot in the comic books. But as far as actual gaming and stuff goes, that's one of the early references. And then they promptly used lizard men for the first time in this. And yes, this is one of the original ones. I just kept it well. Keep on the Borderlands. So, down here in, where is it? And I, to this day, remember this part of the adventure because it was so hard to beat when I was playing through it. So, right here, where are you? Number 1, out there in the fens, encounter number 1. Quite a ways from the caves of the unknown, from the Keep of the Borderlands. Spoilers. But it reads as this encounter: Mound of the Lizard Men. 2 words. The streams and pools of the fens are the home of a tribe of exceptionally evil lizard men. Not regular evil. Being nocturnal. Are they though? This group is unknown to the residents of the keep, and they will not bother individuals moving about in daylight unless they set foot on the mound under which the muddy burrows and dens of the tribe are found. It sounds like more like alligator people if you really reflect on the matter. 1 by 1, males will come out of the marked opening and attack the party. There are 6 males total who will attack. If all these males are killed, the remainder of the tribe will hide in the lair. They only have crude weapons. The largest has a necklace worth 1,100 gold pieces. In the lair is another male, 3 females, 8 young, 6 eggs. Hidden under the nest with the eggs are 112 copper pieces, 90 gold pieces, a healing potion, and a poison potion. Exceptionally evil, semi-intelligent, and they have that for the loot. Interesting. So, what did I learn early about lizard people? That they kind of seemed like regular humans, but had lizard heads and tails. They weren't exceptionally bright. Apparently they lived in mud swamps. And for whatever reason, collected a lot of jewelry. And they were exceptionally evil and not very bright. Moving forward in time a little bit. That was kind of a weird view, I thought, of lizard men, compared to what you'd see elsewhere. But the thing that really changed it for everybody, I think, is Games Workshop in Warhammer lizardmen armies. Now, this changed everything for me about lizardmen. Suddenly, lizardmen weren't kind of semi-dumb people using sticks and big rocks and whatnot and collecting random loot that they find and sticking it in the mud underneath their eggs. No, no. Things had changed. With the Games Workshop lore, which I absolutely adore, which is why I have this book still, even though I don't actually play a lizardman army at the moment, the lizardmen were effectively kind of a construct of the Aztec and Mayan cultures, living in a land called Lustria. And Lustria was quite a large area, and they built pyramid vaults, which look suspiciously like Chichen Itza and things like that. In addition, see? So sophisticated cities, weapons, magic, they're great old ones, if you will, also known with them as, well, at that point, just like they call them totems of the god and mage priests. And so lots of interesting culture and stuff. And I always enjoyed this, that they use giant toads that they carry around on palanquins with really burly lizardmen carrying them with fancy Aztec-ish armor. The culture is great. The colors are great. Even like the old paint schemes that they use for these things. And so that completely changed how my view of lizardmen was, which bled back over into like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. Suddenly, for me, in D&D games that I was running, lizardmen weren't dumb people. They were basically extremely sophisticated Aztec-style Mayans who knew more about the world than pretty much anybody else. They just kept it to themselves. And borrowed a lot of the Games Workshop lizard stuff for my D&D games because it was way more interesting than what TSR had come out with. So I thought that was pretty awesome. As time went by, the next thing that came out for lizardmen, that was the original, if you will, supplement for lizardmen. There was one before it, I think, but it was included with something else. Then came along this edition of Warhammer, which is a little chewed up, but this was at one point the Super Deluxe Fancy version. And they changed things up a little bit. Is this book out of date? Yeah, it is. But it's one of my favorite ones that they made for Warhammer. Because I mean, look, even the pages are unfinished. It's unrelated to my discussion of Lizardmen version 2.0, where they're even fancier than they were in that first supplement. So now the legions of Lustria and going against the gods and whatnot is expanded in their lore. And now the mage priests of the clans there sit atop the pyramids and think deep thoughts and can see through time and all that sort of thing, which kind of saves them in the future when the world blows up in Warhammer. But sadly, those 2 pages are in this entire book. That's what you get, Lizardmen. If you'd like to know more, buy the supplement. But at the back, there were the stats for using the army. So there's that. Next up, the lizard people and lizardmen in general get a big upgrade. There was 3rd edition, which helped somewhat, but it was 5th edition that really did the job. Because 5th edition is really when they decided that that was about the same time that Critical Role was getting started, because they started with Pathfinder in their home game and then switched to 5th edition. And at that point, people who made 5th edition, who now work for Critical Role incidentally, decided that what was really needed is a lot more characterization and background and life to it, not just random monsters stuck in the corner of a dungeon for no apparent reason who are just sitting around waiting for adventurers to come kill them and take their treasure, but rather have a whole society and a whole structure that goes on when the adventurers aren't even there, which is of course the best way to run a D&D game or any other tabletop RPG, honestly. Yeah. Side note, I don't think there's any lizard people in Shadowrun. Let me think. Well, in the Amazonia expansion, they did have some, and there's the totems, but I don't recall any actual lizard-like people in the metahuman types. If I'm misremembering it, or if there's a new one that I don't know about, let me know. I ran Shadowrun for longer than I've run Dungeons and Dragons, just about, so. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just gotta find the lizard people, and it's taking a while. Lizard folk. Now granted, Games Workshop never bothered to call them anything but lizard men as opposed to lizard folk, but that's Games Workshop for you. They weren't going to change it now, but they did give them a huge upgrade and background and all that, as I said. So a lot of that kind of got swiped for 5th edition, in a sense. Lizard folk shamans, lizard king, lizard queens, great feasts and sacrifices, building large buildings and celebrating things and having mysticism and canny crafters and all that kind of stuff. So suddenly, and yes, again, just the 2 pages. That kind of progressed, if you will, lizardmen lore a little bit. And they look a lot more like the Games Workshop lizards now, if you can, there we go. In this edition, rather than just dudes with lizard heads and tails. So, time goes by, that's pretty cool. Lots of good lizardmen lore and whatnot. And then we come to the world blowing up in the Warhammer world. And now they're not the lizard people anymore, or the lizard folk, or the lizard kin. They're the Seraphon. I don't know why. Outside of they wanted to separate it from Warhammer the Old World, so now they're the Seraphon. But for calling themselves the Seraphon, they're suspiciously the same. So it's just these 2 pages once again in the main rule book for the lizard people. So they're consistent in that regard through editions. And if you want to know more, please buy the expansion. So the other interesting thing that Games Workshop did once the world blew up, and they're now the Seraphon and no longer the lizardmen, is they categorized them under the forces of good. So they kind of had them in that category in the old world, but not nearly so much. But they're clearly in the forces of order. And although their look hasn't really changed much, still very much the Aztec Mesoamerican style dress and whatnot, which is awesome because that was always such a great part of the flair for them. So now their forces, they've gone from not too bright people who live in the mud to super intelligent forces for good who mere mortals don't tend to understand their ways, with pyramids and time magic and farseeing and all kinds of weird stuff that they use, and whole lizard kingdoms and Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. And the most recent touch to the lizardmen, which I guess you could say is a bit kind of out of time compared to the rest of things, Blood Bowl. So there are lizardmen teams, as there are teams for everything in Blood Bowl. And notice in this, they're no longer the Seraphon, but even though this is the most recent edition of Blood Bowl, not counting the 3rd edition that they just announced but it hasn't come out yet, they're once again lizardmen, which I think is interesting. So there's a certain amount of them not wanting to contaminate the new world, if you will, and with the old world and the world that was, as they say. But the look is very much the same as it always was. You got the giant lizards that are the blue saurus, the little skinks and whatnot running around. Obviously, there's no leaders on palanquins or whatever because it's Blood Bowl. But I thought that was interesting that even the most recent representation, rather than talk about the new world, if you will, and how it broke apart and all that, they went back to this, which I think was the right choice. What's my point? Is that if you like lizardmen, surprisingly, Games Workshop, with just a tabletop roll a bunch of D6 games, has far more developed lore, maps, history, side stories, even a couple novels about lizard people, lizard folk, lizard men, their society, and things that they do. Far more than Dungeons and Dragons, far more than pretty much anything else, really, which kind of is a surprise. You wouldn't think it'd be that way. You usually go, well, let me go check the D&D stuff or the various tabletop RPGs, but nope. Even amongst things like GURPS and stuff like that, not really. So there you have it, a really random, strange video on lizardmen, why I like them, and their evolution as I've seen them through gaming through the years. This is very strange. I doubt anyone will watch it, but if you got this far, thank you very much for watching and indulging my talk about lizard people. I'm Ray, this is TinyTableGames. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.